Oops. Hey folks, welcome into the News 12 Now Desk. Thanks for joining us here on this Tuesday, July 18th, 8 o'clock here in the CSRA. We are looking at a little bit of a cloudy start, kind of a hazy start actually, not so much cloudy as it is hazy. We saw some smoke from the Canadian wildfires coming down here yesterday, maybe a little bit more of the same here early this morning. Going to be a hot one this week. If you caught our morning news at all, Tim was talking about temperatures almost into the low hundreds. The heat index is getting well into the 100s, so it is going to be hot through the rest of this week. So, stay careful out there if you are heading outside for any reason. We're taking a look at our top headlines, but before we do, want to remind you guys to be sure to download our WRDW streaming app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I can show you how to do the YouTube real quick. Right here on YouTube, you just go to WRDW News 12. And here you go. You can subscribe right here. Should be live right now. There we are. We are live. So we do stream every day, everything from these top headlines to press conferences. You saw John Ossoff do a press conference here yesterday. We had him on there. Breaking news, other segments that we do, all sorts of stuff. So if you do those couple things, that'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on. But okay, excuse me. Let's get into it here. We start off with two people in the hospital after a shooting last night in Augusta. The sheriff's office says they were called just before 8 o'clock to Vanderveer Road for two victims. That's near Aquinas High School. Deputies say they found the two men who were both shot at least once. Both were taken to the hospital. No word yet on their conditions or what led up to the shooting, but investigators seem to be processing the scene inside a house there. The only thing outside was a crime scene tape and cars. So we'll continue to follow this and bring you any updates as we get them both on air and on our website, WRDW.com. The Bamberg Detention Center Captain has resigned from her position. A police officer filed a complaint against her, accusing her of making a racist comment. An incident report says LaTarsha Wilson made comments to her daughter over the phone while the 20-year-old was being pulled over by Bamberg police. News 12's Nick Veland spoke with Wilson about all this. The former jailer says, first of all, she is sorry. She says she didn't know she was on speakerphone, and it's hard to believe she's walking away from her job after 17 years because of a phone call she thought was private.
An incident report shows a Bamberg police officer made a traffic stop on North Street in Village Court in Bamberg for not having lights for her rearview license plate. The driver was the Bamberg Detention Center Captain LaTarsha Wilson's daughter. Once stopped, she called her mom for help, needing insurance information. Wilson didn't know the phone was on speakerphone on the other end. The report says that she told her daughter to calm down or else the officers would lock her up, and she used a racial slur to describe the white officer, all recorded on an officer's body cam. We talked to Wilson on the phone today. She says it was an incident that really shouldn't have happened. I was talking to my daughter. It was a private conversation. I was trying to get her to comply with the officers. It was nothing personal. And she tells us she's not racist. But the officers didn't see it that way, saying this in a letter to the city council. Saying, quote, "We sometimes expect random acts of racism from different people in the public that we encounter, but it should never be tolerated in any of our departments nor allowed in any of our positions at any level." Wilson voluntarily resigned 4 days after the stop. She told us, "I relived this whole situation for the last month over and over again. Seems like every day anybody that knows me and my character knows that that's not the type of person I am. I've been sorry about this situation ever since then, but in the meantime, I am a black woman that lives in this society. So, I was just telling my child to just calm down, and I lost 17 years because of it."
Nick Veland again reporting for us there. Wilson says now she just wants to move past this, and we have reached out to see that body cam footage, but under South Carolina law, body cam footage is not public record. New documents say Augusta firefighters are to blame for two separate crashes that totaled two different fire engines, costing the department hundreds of thousands of dollars. We also have new photos showing damage from those crashes. That's the wreck on Washington Road near I-20, and then a separate incident on Old Waynesboro Road and Neely Road. Previous reports blamed locked up brakes for both of those wrecks. However, the investigation, the department found no issue with the brakes and listed speed as a main factor. Both crashes happened in January, just a week apart. Both firefighters behind the wheel were recommended for suspension. Well, he's being called the Wigged Robber, a 73-year-old Graniteville man arrested for a bank robbery out there in Aiken County. And take a look here. You can see why he got that nickname. He's dressed as an elderly lady. This is Lucky Wallace Turner. He faces charges including kidnapping, bank robbery, and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. Now, the Aiken County Sheriff's Office accuses Turner of robbing Security Federal Bank on Canal Street in Graniteville on July 7th. The Sheriff's Office says he was armed with a handgun and demanded money from bank employees. He was taken into custody at his home yesterday morning. Yesterday was day one of the Richmond County Sheriff's Office starting its program aimed at cutting down crime along the Washington Road I-20 corridor. It's been a week since the sheriff met with business owners who voiced concerns about issues with people experiencing homelessness there. Our Craig Allison spoke to businesses to see what they're hoping to get out of this program.
Well, that's right. There's some hope for this program, but there's still some anxiety over whether or not it's too late to reverse the damages done to these businesses. For one, it's just an extra precaution, but for another, it could be the difference of whether or not they leave Washington Road for good. A grocery cart and pizza boxes sit unattended on the side of the road as a Richmond County Sheriff's car watches over Washington Road. While it's only day one, there's a feeling of extra security. Even for newer businesses, there's hope for change.
We have had to call the cops a couple of times over some of it. Most of the time they just kind of walk through or, dance or whatever they're doing, and they make their way that way towards the bridge. But most of the time they aren't really a bother, but we have had quite a few instances.
An added check to keep things fresh for Cafe Dulce as they approach 1 year here on Washington Road. But for more seasoned businesses like Two Boys Pizza and Grill, they say this issue has destroyed their good food reviews.
They like to stay in the front in here and sleep in the front, my door in the business. It's too much. I'm serious, miss. It's too much.
He's been operating here for more than 2 years, but in the food business for decades. Closer to the I-20 bridge, he says he's also had to call the cops on overdose cases that then blocks people from leaving or entering when authorities arrive. If things don't get better soon, he says he may have to leave entirely in 6 or 7 months.
My customers, they scared to come to us now. I feel sorry for them, but nobody feels sorry for me, for my business.
Now, the Sheriff's Office says they're going to monitor this program over the next few weeks, gather some intel, and see how effective it is working. In Augusta, Craig Allison, on your side.
Okay, thanks for that, Craig. Over in Aiken County, a 15-year-old is safe, and now a criminal investigation is underway. Aiden Conister went missing last Wednesday in Aiken. Police found him yesterday in Rabun County up in North Georgia, about 3 hours from his home on Cardinal Drive in Aiken. Investigators say they believe he ran away. Our Emma Ellis has more details on that investigation.
Gretchen Yakovitis knew she had to do something when she found out Aiden was missing. She set up the Facebook group, Bring Aiden Conister Home.
So I knew setting that group up, using that as a central location to just disseminate information and get information incoming was going to be the best way to do that.
She made posts directing people to meet and break into search groups.
So it was amazing the number of people that came out, and then last night even more so. People just want to help. They know that this kid is in a state where he needs to be found, and they came out in numbers.
However, as police began to get involved in the investigation, it became clear to them Aiden wasn't in Aiken anymore.
As I got into Friday night, Saturday morning, we started getting some information that we were able to follow up on later to figure out that he wasn't in Aiken. We knew that he was down toward North Georgia somewhere.
Aiden was found in Rabun County, Georgia. Aiken Public Safety says he didn't get there alone.
This investigation is not over. We are starting a criminal investigation to see who was helping him, how they helped him, why they helped him. And once our investigation is complete, we'll go talk to our solicitor, and there's a possibility that someone or several people may be charged with assisting him.
In Aiken, Emma Ellis, on your side.
I know the investigation is ongoing. Aiden is safe and appears to be in good health, and he's at the hospital being evaluated. $15 million is set up to help 11 of our local counties' Head Start programs. Georgia Senator John Ossoff announcing that funding yesterday. While there are requirements for these programs, more people may qualify than you think. Our Hallie Turner explains.
In the CSRA, there's a need. One lawmaker says it comes down to education and poverty due to COVID. With the poverty level in Augusta nearly double the state level, Senator John Ossoff says he's putting a stop to children suffering from it.
There is unmet need When it comes to early childhood education, it's never enough.
In order to meet the need, the CSRA Economic Opportunity Authority has a local Head Start program.
Health, vision, dental screening, medical screenings, play therapy.
Mary Harrison with the CSRA EOA says the need for this program post-pandemic is growing at a rapid rate.
It's challenging because, as you know, with any resources, there's more need than resource.
Statistics from the Census Bureau show 14% of Georgians live in poverty. In Richmond County, it's nearly double. Senator Ossoff says the pandemic is to blame.
Coming out of the pandemic, there was a real cost. Learning loss, socialization loss. For 3-, 4-, and 5-year-olds, that early childhood education is essential.
Which is why he says millions in funding is essential.
START is a crucial program to ensure young children in Georgia have access to the nurturing educational environment that are so essential in early childhood.
Harrison says they usually get around $13 million each year, but this year, with the need growing, they will be able to provide more.
Staff salaries, hiring staff, just beefing up the services that we currently offer.
Without this, she says they wouldn't be able to continue serving more than 1,400 children each year.
You can't provide the service if you don't have the teachers, the TAs, the family service workers, the specialists to implement and provide those services.
Reporting in Augusta, Hallie Turner on your side.
To qualify for Georgia Head Start programs, it's based off income. There is a link on WRDW.com where you can select how many people are in your home, and if you make and the amount you make before taxes, and if you're under the limit, you would qualify. You must have a child from birth to age 5 in low income, and those in foster care and who are homeless can also get it. A heartwarming update to a story out of Harlem. This baby you see here on your screen was delivered by Harlem firefighters after they got a call that a woman was in active labor. This happened a couple weeks ago, and now we have the photos of this little guy. Mom and baby are both in good health, and the mother tells us she's grateful for the firefighters' quick response and that they took very good care of her. The baby, Nicholas, definitely has a good story to tell when he grows up. He got a great name, too. I'm a big fan of that, unbiasedly. Okay. A 7-year-old from Augusta spending her summers giving back. Olivia Hobbs came up with the idea to host a lemonade stand to help kids at CHOG. With her dad's help building the stand, she set up shop yesterday in her front yard.
I really wanted kids in the children's hospital to live a life like me, so I wanted to donate some money to the children's hospital.
She made $132 and plans to donate all of her profits back to the kids. It's the battle of the states for the best-looking cruiser calendar contest. Both Georgia and South Carolina state patrols are hoping to get enough votes to land the 2024 Best-Looking Cruisers Wall Calendar. The sales from this calendar benefit the American Association of State Troopers Foundation, which gives scholarships to dependents of troopers. Voting ends in 2 weeks, and you can vote for both. Personally, I think the Georgia one is a little bit better. Feels like a little bit more unique. I think the Georgia one has actually won awards before for the look there. That blue and orange is just, it's just different. You know, the gray ones, no disrespect, but you see those pretty much everywhere. Okay, but you can vote for both if you want. So anyway, Hope for Hooves is getting ready to host its first camp for adults. It's going to be happening this Saturday. It's a chance for adults to visit, feed the animals, go to the creek, and try out many more activities. Our Maria Sellers stopped by to see what attendees can expect and how the rescue has helped its volunteers.
Autumn Stewart has volunteered at Hope for Hooves for more than a year.
And it's been an amazing ride. This is my second family. They mean the absolute world to me.
Part of that ride has included breaking out of her shell and not being as shy.
I am an entirely different person now. I'm very active. I'm very talkative. When someone comes up, I'm just like, hi, how are you? I never could do that before.
Then there's Jarrett McDonald.
I'm on the autistic spectrum, but you wouldn't know it by looking at me.
He says the rescue is helping him as well.
It's just a fun experience being out here with the animals, and it did help me with my social skills a little bit. It has helped me mentally, though.
The owner says the goal is helping people through activities like sensory-friendly camp.
And I want them to know that they have people just like them, or kids, just like them, and they're okay, They don't have to be nervous around them or have fear, bullying, or anything like that.
And this year, camp isn't just for kids, as they get ready to host the first one for adults.
I put a post out there, how many people would be interested, and I had a tremendous response.
It serves as a walk down memory lane.
They were like, oh, it brings back so many memories, and I would love to do that. It's just a place where us adults can come and kind of reminisce our childhood.
No matter the reason for attending camp, Stewart says it's rescuing more than just the animals.
If you just want to like help different people, help the animals, this is the place for you.
In North Augusta, Maria Sellers on your side.
The sensory camp is available this week. The adult camp, again, going to be this Saturday. Each will involve activities like feeding the animals, games, and much more. There are spots left for both, and we'll have those details up on our website, WRDW.com. Let's move on to some statewide news here. The heat index values are near and over triple digits in the Peach State and across the country. Our State House reporter, Abby Casoras, spent the day seeing how it's impacting us across the state.
When the temperatures break 90, like they will most of this week. That's when Georgia emergency crews say they respond to the most heat-related calls. It can start out as heat exhaustion. That's when your body overheats. You might sweat a lot and your pulse will get faster. If that's not treated, heat exhaustion can develop into heat stroke. That's when experts warn you need to call 911.
Once you've reached that point of heat exhaustion, it's too late.
Battalion Chief Danny Dwyer says it boils down to getting the patient cool and rehydrated. Their crews carry first aid kits filled with fluids and cold compresses. First, they get the patient out of the heat, then assess what they can do to rehydrate the patient. The start of football season is a concern right now.
So a lot of the high schools are going to be doing 2-a-day practices, early in the morning, late in the evening, and that's a lot of times we see a lot of heat exhaustion for those guys just because they're outside sweating.
The Atlanta-based CDC found that more than 700 people in the U.S. die every year of heat-related illnesses. More than 9,000 are hospitalized. Children, pregnant mothers, outside workers, and the elderly are at the greatest risk of heat-related illnesses. The fire department made their own display to get the message across to parents. On a 93-degree day, the inside of a car broke 130 degrees in just minutes and then got up to 158 degrees in nearly an hour.
Don't risk running in for a quick trip into the store without taking your child with you.
In their uniforms, the fire department preaches the need to hydrate at least 24 hours before a shift. In Roswell, I'm Abby Casoras.
Okay, thanks for that, Abby. Again, you heard here locally, we're going to have the heat index values up into the triple digits for most of this week, so make sure you're staying careful out there. After a 24-hour manhunt, U.S. Marshals say they shot and killed 41-year-old Andre Longmore. The search began Saturday after deputies found 4 people dead in a neighborhood in Henry County. Clayton County investigators say some officers were injured, but they are expected to be okay. Rebecca Schramm spoke with Longmore's mother.
I spoke off camera with the mother of the now deceased suspect. She tells me her son was in the Army for 6 years. She says years after his service, he snapped.
I'm just beside myself right now. I just don't know what to think.
Neighbors in the Dogwood Lake subdivision in Hampton are in a state of disbelief after what police say 41-year-old Andre Longmore did Saturday morning.
He was shooting right at the car.
He was shooting at the car?
As soon as I opened up my window, I seen his arms in the air. I said, okay, I just missed the shot. When he came back down, he focused again.
When it was all over, 4 of Longmore's neighbors were dead. Scott Levitt and his wife Shirley, Steve Blizzard, and Ronald Jeffers, all in their mid-60s. The next day, police tracked Longmore to Jonesboro. Justin Robinson tells us he and his friends were in his backyard when the man appeared, saying he needed help.
He had a gun, he was naked, he was bleeding.
They ran off and called police.
Police go in, they open the back door. As soon as they open the back door, they don't even look. They don't like assess anything. As soon as they open the back door, this guy just starts shooting, shoots on the cops. The police start shooting, and now he's laying in there dead on the carpet.
Henry County Sheriff Reginald Scandrett said this when he made the announcement.
The monster's dead.
Longmore's mother tells me her son had been a sergeant in the 82nd Airborne. She says he received several commendations for his stellar service, but years later, he began to lose sleep and act strangely. She says he was diagnosed with PTSD and schizophrenia. She says, in her opinion, the military created the monster her son became. Longmore's mother told me she wants her neighbors to know how sorry she is for what her son did. She says her heart breaks for them. In Hampton, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.
There's still no word on what exactly led up to that mass shooting, so that investigation is still ongoing there. College students are in limbo as writers and actors continue to strike. These strikes mean students pursuing their careers or their dreams aren't able to get internships many schools require to graduate.
Just was sitting there thinking, well, when is my internship going to happen then? Because it's the only thing keeping me from officially graduating.
Many schools in Georgia and across the country are making adjustments because of the strikes, hoping they get resolved soon. Many are advising students to take other classes for now, waiting for a deal to be reached with unions. Firefighters responded to a fire at a church in Savannah yesterday evening. This is the scene at Central Missionary Baptist Church. We're told the roof of the church collapsed. Thankfully, though, nobody was hurt. The cause of that fire is still under investigation. Former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is returning to the White House. The 60th mayor of Atlanta will now serve as the president's export counsel. She previously served as a senior advisor to the president until she stepped down earlier this year. She says this council serves as the principal National Advisory Committee on International Trade. Yesterday marks 3 years since a civil rights legend passed away. John Lewis was 80 years old when he died during the height of COVID. The late civil rights activist spent more than 30 years representing Georgia. He was known to fight for equality and getting the Voting Rights Act of 1965 after Bloody Sunday. Since launching 1 year ago, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline has gotten around 5 million calls from across the country. That includes tens of thousands of South Carolinians who have gotten help in that time. State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
South Carolina has seen a significant uptick in calls to the National Crisis Lifeline since 988 launched a year ago. But the state also has more resources now to get callers the help they need.
Having 3 numbers, I think, makes it more accessible to people.
The year before 988 launched, about 30,000 calls from South Carolina area codes came into the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline when it had a 10-digit phone number. In the last year since that switch to 988, the number of calls jumped up to more than 38,000. That doesn't include people who reached out through text or chat. Until last month, just one call center in South Carolina was taking these calls, but a second location opened up in June. Since then, the answer rate for calls from South Carolina area codes being answered by someone in South Carolina has gone up too.
We know our resources, we know the different accesses to care that we have across South Carolina, and other national backup centers can identify some of those things, but I think it can add another level of understanding when you are from and answering for a particular area that you are familiar with.
Also important to note that the Department of Mental Health says calls do not go unanswered. If someone in South Carolina can't get to it, then a call will be rerouted to a national call center in another state that also has access to help and resource information. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
And if you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, help is available 24/7. You can call or text the suicide hotline at 988. You can also chat online at 988lifeline.org. We're getting a first look at 2 South Carolina children who died in Pennsylvania flash flooding over the weekend. Upper Makefield Police, that's near Trenton, New Jersey, released the photos of 2-year-old Matilda and 9-month-old Conrad Shields on Facebook. Their father and entire family say they want to thank everyone for their prayers and support. He also thanked the personnel involved in the massive search to find them. Republican presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis is expected to be the first GOP candidate to file for South Carolina's Republican primary. The Florida governor is set to make an appearance at the Republican Party headquarters today. After he signs that paperwork, he plans to make a policy rollout, already announcing tackling immigration. It's a proposal that includes the call for ending birthright citizenship and finishing construction on the Mexico border wall. A convicted killer released by a South Carolina judge is now back in custody in South Carolina. A manhunt for Jeroid Price lasted over a month after he was released. He was found late last week in New York. He was convicted of murder in the early 2000s. South Carolina Supreme Court ruled Price should not have been let go. He'll now serve the rest of his 35-year prison sentence. A burial flag making a long journey back to its family. Somebody at an apartment complex in West Columbia found the burial flag and case for a man named Conrad Stumpf with the years 1894 to 1966. The finder's family then gave it to a Lexington County Veterans Group, which turned it into the museum. And after some detective work, the museum was able to find out more about Mr. Stumpf's family and return the burial flag to a family in Illinois.
The museum said that they would try and contact somebody if they find out who he was. If not, they would put it on display in the museum, the Lexington County Museum.
So great work by everybody involved there to get that important piece of family history back where it belongs. Making sure everybody is safely cool this summer, no matter the age or experience, is the goal of an organization in the upstate. Anna Arender shows us how upstate South Carolina veterans are building confidence as they learn how to swim.
It's been probably 50-some years since I did any serious swimming, so it was starting over again and relearning some of it.
Veterans across the upstate are diving in, coming here to the Greenville County Aquatic Complex to learn how to swim.
I had no ability at all when I started, and here I am today.
But those in the class say it goes beyond that. It's helping them heal mentally and physically.
You're floating around, like zero gravity, you don't know you're working out, you're having a good time, the water engulfs your entire body, and it just cradles you, and there's a surreal feeling there.
It's really a small fraternity, vets, I think, because I think only 5% of Americans have ever served in the military. So it's really a kind of a club unto itself.
This new program is run by volunteers and swim coaches Eric Woods and Melinda Menzer.
They've sacrificed on all kinds of levels that we are slightly aware of and levels we have no idea the sacrifices they've made. And this is an opportunity to give back to them.
And one of those swim coaches is also saying she's thankful to give back to these veterans who gave up so much themselves. All right, let's talk about the weather here at home. We're looking at temps in the upper 90s this week with a feels-like temperature in the triple digits, like we've been saying. Death Valley, California was the hottest place on Earth yesterday, and the northeastern U.S. is dealing with deadly floods. Astrid Martinez reports.
Tourists in California's Death Valley snap photos as temperatures climbed ever higher.
We're getting lots of visitors who want to feel what it feels like to live in such an extreme place.
Millions of Americans are finding out firsthand, with excessive heat blanketing 14 states from the West Coast to Florida.
Take a look at that map and all that red. Record highs in the forecast for many, and the trend continues into tomorrow.
Record-breaking heat in Salt Lake City Sunday buckled the roadway. And Miami issued its first ever excessive heat warning, with people of all ages trying to beat the heat.
We rent a bike to move a little bit and to get more wind.
Phoenix, Arizona has clocked 17 consecutive days of 110 degrees or more, working on day 18.
New York State has issued an air quality health advisory for the city and some surrounding counties through midnight, warning of elevated levels of pollutants. Officials recommend people here limit strenuous activity outdoors.
Severe weekend storms prompted landslides in northwest New Jersey, crumbling roadways and swamping farmland.
That's my main concern, is getting the animals out of here.
And flash flooding in Pennsylvania claimed at least 5 lives over the weekend. Officials in Bucks County have tripled their resources to find 2 children still missing.
We ask everyone to keep the families in their thoughts and prayers during this extremely difficult time.
More rain is in the forecast for parts of the Northeast on Tuesday, while the heat dome expands from coast to coast. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Turning to the 2024 presidential campaign now, only 6 Republican candidates are qualified right now for the first GOP primary debate. That's set to happen next month. Former President Trump is one of those candidates, but as Skylar Henry shows us, with a big lead in polls and fundraising, he could skip out.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis criticized President Biden at the Christians United for Israel summit in Virginia on Monday.
Biden does not know what he's doing.
But if the Republican presidential candidate wants to take on Mr. Biden in the general election next year, he needs to focus first on former President Trump. New fundraising numbers match the polls, showing Trump with a major financial advantage over his GOP rivals. Trump raised $35 million from April to June, while DeSantis took in around $20 million. No one else brought in more than $8 million.
The great silent majority is rising like never before.
Trump still hasn't said whether he'll attend next month's debate, which could hinder any opponent's chances at landing any significant blows against him.
In this Republican primary, there is one lane to the nomination, and that lane is right through Donald Trump. He's at the head of it.
On the Democratic side, President Biden and the DNC reported a $72 million haul in the second quarter. So while money isn't an issue for the Democrats, they're closely watching the No Labels organization. The group, which bills itself as bipartisan, is pondering a third-party run, possibly led by Senator Joe Manchin, the moderate Democrat from West Virginia. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
To New York now, just days after police nabbed a man suspected of killing several women in New York. Police are now searching for more possible clues related to these serial killings. One of the details these murders all share, the victims' bodies were dumped at Gilgo Beach in the area of Long Island. As Greg Sergel shows us, yesterday investigators were looking at the suspect's home for clues.
At a storage business in Amityville and at Rex Uerman's Massapequa Park home, investigators are continuing their search for clues linking the 59-year-old architect to the Long Island serial killer murders.
I'm trying to figure out what could be over here. Is making me more scared than what I am. I don't know what's over there.
Amityville resident Bobby Mitchell watched from her home across the street as Suffolk Police and New York State Police appeared to search multiple units today at Omega Storage.
Because it's a school here, you have children coming here, no telling how often he was coming to this facility over here.
Neighbor Unique Palmer says police vehicles have been here since Sunday, but a man answering the storage facility's phone refused comment today when asked if Uerman rented space here.
I get calls from people all over California, Florida, from friends going, I can't believe that, that guy lived in your neighborhood.
Robert Gayer stopped in Massapequa Park today as investigators spent a fourth day there recovering items from Uerman's home. The husband and father of two is charged with the murders of 3 women and is a suspect in a 4th killing. His home now both a possible crime scene and a source of morbid curiosity for onlookers.
Uerman pleaded not guilty during his arraignment last Friday, but said nothing else. He was denied bail and is due back in court on August 1st. Well, there are still a lot of questions about the disappearance of an Alabama woman. Carly Russell vanished last week just moments after she called 911 to report seeing a child wandering alone along an interstate. Saturday night, Russell showed up at her family's home. Roxana Saberi reports from Hoover, Alabama.
A sprawling 2-day statewide search came to an end when police say Carly Russell appeared at her family's front door Saturday night.
She was there, and then she wasn't, and now she's home, which is the result we wanted. And all those other things in between we'll figure out.
Police say the 25-year-old nursing student returned to her house by foot around 49 hours after she went missing from the side of a highway. They say on Thursday night, Russell called 911 and then a family member to report a toddler in a diaper walking alone along the highway. She told them she was pulling over to check on the boy. That's captured in this traffic camera footage.
She has a big heart, and when she got out the car, she did tell my daughter-in-law, I can't just leave. I can't just leave this little child on the side of the road.
Russell's family says she called out to the child while on the phone, but there was no response. They say Russell then screamed. When police arrived minutes later, they found her wig, cell phone, and purse near her car, but no sign of her or a child.
We currently are investigating every possibility in this case. We're certainly leaving nothing off the table.
Police have not released any details about what happened to Russell, but someone claiming to be her boyfriend wrote online that Russell was fighting for her life for 48 hours, adding she's not able to give any updates or whereabouts on her kidnapper. Russell was taken to the hospital Saturday night and released the following morning. There are no updates on her condition. The Hoover police chief would not confirm or deny if Russell was abducted. Now, about the child that she reportedly saw on the side of the highway, police say there have been no reports of a missing child here in Alabama or in the surrounding states.
Roxana Saberi, CBS News, Hoover, Alabama.
So still a lot to be uncovered there. We'll have to see what comes out of all that in the coming days and weeks. Well, this upcoming weekend, 6-year-old Onyx was supposed to be in Florida on a birthday trip. Instead, the little girl's in a Kentucky hospital after she was shot in a road rage incident. Her spine was severed. Brandon Spencer spoke with Onyx's mother and grandmother, who say she is staying strong.
This was the scene at Onyx's 6th birthday party. She was surrounded by her friends and family and was just enjoying being a kid. She received everything she ever wanted, including a July 23rd planned trip to Florida. Now, her family doesn't even know when she will make it out of the hospital bed. Her mother, China Sands, relives what she saw when she got to the Norton Children's ER.
It was very chaotic. My baby was laying on a table. She was bleeding. They were about to intubate her. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what had happened. I just was, concerned about my baby.
But then she began to learn more about the story. Sands tells me Onyx's stepmother was driving her dad, 2 stepbrothers, and Onyx from a football practice at a park when the incident happened Monday. She says the car was trying to avoid 3 motorcycles bobbing and weaving through traffic when the riders got frustrated and started shooting at the car, hitting her daughter in the spine. Onyx still remembers the trauma from the encounter.
She remembered going to the park, and she told me when they got in the car, she remembered hearing boom, boom, and then she saw something bright, like a firework, and then there was blood on her seat. And then she recalls her brother saying that he didn't want to die.
Sands says that imaging shows that Onyx's spine has been severed and may never be able to walk again. She says her daughter has a spicy personality and loves to dance, so it's been hard for her to find the words to tell her what may be a new reality.
She's starting to get frustrated, and I haven't told her yet. I'm telling her, your legs are resting right now, because I don't know how to tell her that. And I don't want to say the wrong thing.
But Onyx's grandmother, who she affectionately calls Chi-Chi, isn't ready to give up hope just yet.
I'm not claiming it. I'm not claiming that she won't walk again. I'm believing and trusting in God that she will.
A tragic circumstance that leaves both Reynolds and Sands feeling helpless and in despair, as they believe Onyx's pain and suffering could have been prevented if not for the senseless gun violence.
She's perfect. She's a perfect little kid, and these people have robbed my baby of, the simple things that we've all got to enjoy.
Just hard to hear that interview there. Hopefully a speedy and full recovery there from little Onyx. Well, it's the best way to keep a baby safe, but some parents may unknowingly be putting their kids in danger. One hospital in Florida says last year it found 42 counterfeit seats, car seats that is, and 34 foreign-made car seats during inspections.
Counterfeit car seats are made of cheaper, flimsier materials, and they are unable to withstand the crash forces that happen in a crash.
Federally regulated car seats will have both English and Spanish labels and not just photos. If a car seat does not have a lower anchor attachments or a chest clip, it may be counterfeit. And read the label. All federally compliant car seats should say that it conforms to all federal motor vehicle safety standards. Now to some terrifying moments in the sky after a pilot had a medical emergency and the passenger had to take the controls. She managed to crash land the plane in Martha's Vineyard and survive. Aaron Gilchrist has the details.
Tonight, a miracle on Martha's Vineyard. A small plane crash landing just off the airport runway after the pilot suffered a medical emergency.
Got a single aircraft down and approaching at runway 6. One patient unresponsive at the time.
This video posted online, unconfirmed by NBC News, but matching descriptions of the scene by Massachusetts State Police, showing first responders on the ground after a 79-year-old pilot became unresponsive mid-air before his female passenger took the controls.
What can you tell us about how difficult it might have been to land something like this?
It is not a trainer, so it's going to require more skill. It's going to approach the airport at higher speeds.
The small plane, a 2006 Piper Meridian, took off from Westchester, New York, Saturday afternoon en route to Martha's Vineyard. On final approach, the passenger had to jump into action, the plane's left wing breaking in half after a hard landing. Just last year, Darren Harrison made a similar heroic landing in Florida.
I've got a serious situation here. My pilot has gone incoherent.
We had now gone into a dive.
Harrison spoke to our Savannah Guthrie about taking control and safely landing with zero experience in the cockpit.
Because I knew it was a life or death situation. Either you do what you have to do to control the situation or you're going to die. And that's what I did.
Massachusetts State Police say the pilot was flown to a Boston hospital in serious, life-threatening condition, and the passenger wasn't seriously hurt. Aaron Gilchrist, NBC News.
Pretty amazing there. Quick thinking to just take the controls and try to figure it out on the fly. And, hopefully the pilot's okay, and it's good to hear that the passenger is okay. Now's about that time of year to be extra cautious about ticks. There's been an increase nationwide in harmful tick bites. Your risk for coming into contact varies with the season and where you are. Your chances of tick bite are higher in areas where there are more deer. Ticks can transmit diseases that cause flu-like symptoms in humans, but can prove deadly for pets.
We humans can take care of ourselves. We have opposable thumbs and we have the brains to check for ticks. Pets, on the other hand, can't remove the ticks themselves.
To be safe, check your pets for ticks whenever they've spent some time outdoors. And to protect yourself, cover the lower half of your body, tuck your shirt into your pants into your socks, and do a body check on yourself if you've been outdoors. Are you feeling the heat of summer stress? Well, research shows seasonal affective disorder, something many of us may only associate with the colder months, actually impacts up to 20% of Americans in the summer. Along with the extreme heat, some contributing factors include schedule changes and stressing over vacation.
So first thing I would say is be realistic, right, about what your expectations are for yourself, for other people. Managing expectations is a big part of it.
Planning ahead as much as you can also makes shifts in schedules easier and can help with those variations too. $76 billion in unemployment pandemic benefits potentially given to fraudsters. That's according to a new report by the Department of Labor's Inspector General's office. In this Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Carice Jackman spoke with the Department of Labor and consumer advocates about what's being done.
The pandemic may no longer be a national emergency, but the Department of Labor's Inspector General says unemployment insurance fraud remains a big concern. The OIG, which provides independent oversight of department programs, issued its new semi-annual report to Congress in May. In the 152-page report, the OIG says over $888 billion in federal and state unemployment insurance was paid during the pandemic period. At least $191 billion of that could have been improper payments, nearly half of which was likely paid to fraudsters.
We are working collaboratively with them to put in new protections to protect the program and every day collaborating with them to bring those who committed crimes, especially during the pandemic, to justice.
Andrew Stetner, Deputy Director for Policy at the Office of Unemployment Insurance Modernization for the Department of Labor, says they've read the report and are working hard to ensure security measures are put into place, both federally and across multiple states.
We have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in grants to states to put in new protections. Chief among them is identity verification. We know that if we can ensure that the person who is applying for unemployment benefits is the person they say they are, that can prevent a lot of different types of fraud.
Eva Velasquez with the Identity Theft Resource Center says she's glad to see both the Department of Labor and the OIG taking unemployment fraud seriously.
Even though we're not seeing the massive numbers that we were in 2021, the baseline is increased. So we're at this new heightened baseline where the fraud is still ongoing in the state departments. At least the attempts are still being made because the thieves found that it was lucrative.
And while state and federal governments work to strengthen security measures when it comes to fraud, there are simple things you can do to protect yourself.
Using unique passwords across all of your online accounts, making sure that includes your email, making sure it's 12 characters or longer and unique. Again, don't duplicate it across multiple accounts. turning on multi-factor authentication on all of your accounts, because that way, even if the criminal does have your data and your information, without that code, they still can't get into those accounts.
With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
We did reach out to the OIG for an interview on their report, but they declined. All right, let's keep it with the Watching Your Wallet theme here. Finding a place to rent can be tough, and scammers know that and take advantage. 44% of people in a recent survey say they or someone they knew lost money because of rental fraud. In today's Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa explains what steps you can take to avoid that same problem.
If you're looking to rent, watch out for the fake landlord scam. According to the CEO and co-founder of Dwellzy, this is when someone steals a legitimate apartment listing and reposts it, posing as the landlord. Usually, the only thing that's changed is the contact information and the rent price, which is now way less expensive. When you reach out to learn more about the apartment, the scammer then tries to get your information, including your social security number and driver's license. They'll ask for a deposit before you ever see the property, and then the scammer disappears with your money and personal information. It is frustrating and getting to be more and more common. So what can you do? Dwellzy offers this advice. First, use a safe site to search for listings. Sites that charge landlords a fee to post properties can be more reputable. Look for duplicate listings. When you search and you keep seeing the same property over and over with different prices, be skeptical. Tour the property and meet the landlord before you sign a contract or give up a deposit. If you feel pressured to pay, walk away. Be wary if the price is significantly lower than most of the listings that you've come across. If it's too good to be true, it likely is. Also, avoid paying through Venmo or Zelle or any other peer-to-peer payment options. If fraud is found, you don't have a way to recover your payment right away, so don't use Venmo until you've actually moved in, then you can pay your rent that way. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Okay, moving on here. Everyone's brain doesn't work the same way. Our consumer tech reporter Jamie Tucker shows us a smartphone app that can make tasks easier.
This app and website is called Goblin Tools. It's sort of like ChatGPT, but it's a lot easier for many people to use. Goblin Tools focuses on 6 tools at the moment. Magic To Do simplifies tasks by giving step-by-step directions for whatever you want to do. Enter what you're working on, how to do laundry, for example. These spicy peppers let you choose how detailed you need the directions. Then hit enter. Goblin gives you a list and the order you should do them in. If you need help on a step, just tap this icon to break it down further. Enter anything. How do you create a YouTube video? Goblin breaks down any task into manageable steps. Great for people who have trouble staying on task or people who are easily distracted. Does a message sound condescending or could it be taken in the wrong way? The judge detects tone in text you have written or what you've received. Helpful for those who have trouble picking up social cues. The formalizer takes sentences and paragraphs and makes them sound more professional, formal, or casual. Estimator will show you approximately how long a task will take to complete. Compiler takes brain dumps and breaks them into a list of manageable tasks. And with the chef tool, enter what food is in your fridge or pantry, and it'll show you what you can make with just those ingredients. This app is brand new. The developer says these are just the first 6 tools. They're working on others. The app is only 99 cents. That's not a month. That's just one-time purchase, 99 cents. It's available for iPhone and Android devices. I'm Jamie Tucker, and Goblin Tools is the app of the day.
99 cents for all that. That sounds pretty good. I might have to look into that. You can try it without downloading the app. Just visit the website goblin.tools. So could be cool. Could be cool, and get into it before the prices go up, because you know once they start making a lot of money on that, that might be a thing. Okay, let's do some sports here. A local pair of twins are a step closer to qualifying for the drive, chip, and putt national finals here in Augusta. Dan Booth caught up with that dynamic duo.
Good morning, everyone. Every year, the Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals take place at Augusta National the Sunday before the start of the Masters, and a dynamic duo from right here in Augusta are one step closer to qualifying. Sadie and Addie Munns are 10-year-old twins from right here in Augusta. Both of them have made it to the second round of the drive, chip, and putt qualifier.
It's fun when I spend the moments with my family going to these tournaments, and then I get to spend time with them, or when I'm at the course at Westlake, I get to spend time with my dad and then Sadie, and then we get to play and have fun together. And after tournaments, sometimes we talk about our round together, and it's really fun, and we talk about what we did right and wrong.
Their passion for the game came from a youth clinic at Westlake. That passion turned into love, which evolved into a healthy competition between two siblings.
I have someone to play with when I'm playing golf, and it's really fun because we can learn from each other. Sometimes we might be really close together when we hit our drives because we can hit it the same. And it's really fun when we're together playing, and some of them we're playing in tournaments too.
A lot of the men on the course will say, who's going to win today? And both of them say, I am. So they both have a very healthy competitive spirit, but at the same time they have a good sportsmanship attitude towards one another.
Sadie and Addie's mom, Nicole, says they're out on the course every chance they get.
I think on the 4th of July, it was like 100 degrees, and they said, can we go play? And I said, no, I've taken you so many times. It's too hot right now.
If Sadie and Addie keep having fun while driving, chipping, and putting, the sky's the limit.
It would be fun one day to play in ANWA or to one day play at the national finals.
It's not often you see a pair of twins where one is a righty and the other is a lefty. Sadie won her division of the local qualifier at Champions Retreat a few weeks ago, and her sub-qualifier is in Savannah on July 30th. Addie will play in a different sub-regional in Columbia on August 26th. That's it for sports. Have a great day, everybody.
Okay, thanks for that, Dan. And we'll wrap it up here with our main man, Will Volk, as we like to do here. Many 11 and 13-year-old boys want to play football or baseball, but a pair of middle schoolers in Aiken County are taking their fishing skills to the World Bass Fishing Championship. Will Volk caught up with the pair out on the pond to learn how they got started.
Gage and Braxton love fishing together.
We're both pretty good, so we make good teammates.
They're both in middle school. They started fishing competitively about a year ago. Ever since, they've won multiple tournaments together.
It's really unbelievable that kids start fishing at a young age and actually fishing competitive in bass tournaments.
Raymond Bailey is their boat captain, but he says Gage and Braxton do all the fishing.
They worked hard to do it, and to be a part of it is really exciting for them kids to learn how to bass fish at this age.
Their hard work led them to a junior state championship in South Carolina. Because of their success, they qualified to compete for a world championship in Oklahoma.
Always excited, especially when we get to go to Oklahoma. I think it'll be a good opportunity to go down there, but I just hope to go down there and represent our community good.
These two middle schoolers love fishing. Soon, that love of fishing will take them halfway across the country. But until then, you can probably find them somewhere on the water here, where it all started. In Aiken County, Will Volk, on your side.
So their competition starts next week in Oklahoma, and if you want to follow along, they're going to post updates on Facebook. We've got a link to that on our website. I lied, we're not done yet. We got one more thing. The Powerball jackpot was $900 million. Nobody won last night, I don't believe, but there were a couple smaller winners. I think a $2 million in Orangeburg, and then $50,000 or $500,000, something like that in Aiken. I think it was $50,000 in Aiken. So be sure to check those tickets if you got your tickets there. But yeah, Powerball going way up, Mega Millions going up. I feel like we're saying this every couple months now. Those jackpots are just continuing to rise, but I think they made the numbers a little bit more difficult to hit recently, and that's why you're starting to see these $1 billion, $900 million jackpots more often. So head on out there, try your luck. Who cares what the odds are? Just go do it. All right, that's going to do it for right now. We've got the morning mix coming up in about 5 minutes or so, and so you can head on over there. Be sure to download our WRDW streaming app, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will be back on here about 10:30. Governor Ron DeSantis is going to be in South Carolina talking there, so we will have that streaming here on the streaming app and on the YouTube channel. So we'll see you back here in a little bit.